Adani versus Hindenburg research. What is all this hangama going on? Markets are under turmoil after a report of Hindenburg research firm on Adani Group was published. Adanis have lost close to 118 billion US dollar after the Hindenburg research published this report. But what is this report all about? Is Adani the largest con in the corporate history as claimed by Western media? Is it the end of the Indian stock market winning spree? Or is this an overhyped hoax? What should you do as an investor? Let's find out. Friends, watch this video till end to know the facts which no one is speaking about. Hindenburg Research, an American research firm, published a research report on Jan 24th on Adani Business Group, one of the prominent business group of a country which was already in limelight in recent days. Immediately after the research report was published, Adani's lost almost 50% of their market cap within a couple of days. Hindenburg Research published list of 88 allegations through which it has accused Adani Group of brazen stock market manipulation and accounting frauds. We will discuss few of the important allegations in this video. Friends, this is going to be really fun and video will be pretty lengthy, but I promise you the facts we are about to show you will blow your mind away and definitely will enlighten you. So pull up your popcorn, relax and watch this video comfortably till the end. Before we begin this video, let me make it very clear, we are not biased in our research and we have been completely neutral and fair in this research which we are publishing. However, we have sincerely attempted to give pragmatic conclusions to some of the key points raised in this report. First, let us have a clear look at this blog of Hindenburg's report on Adani Group. It says, Adani Group, how the world's third richest man is pulling the largest con in the corporate history. Somehow the title gives an impression that Hindenburgs have already concluded that Adanis are guilty even before any trial. When we look at the initial couple of pages, it has a synopsis and introduction about Adanis, how rich Adani is, how they have controlled financial industry, how he toppled Bezos to become third richest man, how the stocks are overvalued and so on. But till now, Hindenburg hasn't given a single evidence of stock market manipulation by Adanis as they have claimed at the beginning of this report. When we move further, look at this interesting piece of information where Hindenburg used third-party report to expose the debt levels of Adanis. It says, concerns about Adani Group's debt level has been expressed by a firm called Credit Sites and this report was published in the month of August 22. Before we go further, a key point to be noted here is throughout the research report, Hindenburg mostly has used reports already published by third parties. Wonder why they didn't do enough research on their own. Okay, now let's get back to the Credit Sites report. Here, though Hindenburg tried to expose Adani's with Credit Sites report, what they failed to do is a thorough research. After this report was published in August month, Credit Sites later on September 9th gave another public statement that it had discovered calculation errors in its debt report on two power and transmission companies controlled by India's richest person, Gautam Adani. And this report was published by Reuters. This is obviously a crucial point which Hindenburg looks like have deliberately omitted from the research. Now, why would Hindenburg do such deliberate attempts against Adani's? Because they have material interest in Adani Group. Hindenburg Research is not just a research firm but also an activist short seller. You might be wondering what does that even mean? Short selling simply means if trader believes that a particular share is overvalued, he borrows securities of that company from the dealers and sells them at the current market price. Plan is to buy back these shares at a lower price in future once the stock price has dropped. The securities are then returned to the lender and the short seller pockets the price difference between the purchase price and the selling price as a profit. What distinguishes activist short sellers from traditional short sellers is primarily that they actively try to drive down the stock price by convincing the market that target company is overvalued. But there are many instances where these kind of short sellers have made blatant attempt to manipulate the market price with false alarms. The catch here is the short sellers will benefit from instant windfall gains. Within short span, they make huge profits, which is not possible if one takes a long position on a stock. Though Hindenburg has openly disclosed that they have short position on stocks and bonds of Adani groups, they haven't disclosed the size of their position, which clearly raises a red flag. The kind of traction this report has received, it looks like this is a very big bet they have taken and they might have been even successful, but at the cost of common innocent investors. Let us look at some of the key allegations Hindenburg has made. Here it says, Adani's 7 publicly traded companies has 578 subsidiaries with close to 6,000 plus disclosed related party transactions. Related party transaction can be understood as a deal or arrangement between two parties or entities who are joined by a pre-existing business relationship or even common interest. A company enters into a business deal with the party with whom it is already either familiar or sometimes even share some mutual interest. But the point to be noted here is all these 6,000 plus transactions are for the entire Adani group and they have already disclosed it. What Hindenburg failed to do is to consolidate all these transactions and give the comprehensive figure of all these transactions. What's the whole point in simply republishing the information which is already publicly available? What is the value Hindenburg is adding to this report? Of course, high related party transactions are not a good sign for any business, but until the size of the transactions is known, it gives no conclusion about the company's operations. Majority of the large companies in this world have related party transactions. Fair practice is that all such transactions should be disclosed to maintain transparency. Problem lies when they aren't disclosed. Another point Hindenburg makes is Vinod Adani, one of the elder brother of Gautam Adani, who was also one of the director of Adani Group business in the past, who currently doesn't own any position in the business, has set up at least 38 shell companies in Mauritius. A shell company is nothing but a fictitious company created with an intent to carry out business or business related transactions, but lot of times it has also been misused for money laundering. Now the point that Hindenburg has made is that Vinod Adani has set up 38 such companies, but it succeeded to give the list of only 13 of those companies. Where is the list of another 25 companies? Another very important point to be noted here is Hindenburg has not given even a single information on the transactions of these alleged 13 shell companies with Adani Group. Only 4 out of these 13 websites has the names of Vinod Adani. What are these guys trying to prove by reiterating the publicly available information without even concrete evidence? The response of Adani Group for this particular point was that Vinod Adani isn't the part of Adani Group anymore and Adani Group isn't in a position to comment on his alleged dealings. The response from Adani's looks absolutely adequate. How could Hindenburg expect Adani Group to disclose the dealings of a person who is currently not part of their business? It is Vinod Adani himself who is answerable, and yes, he can be questioned directly. How can we forcefully make someone else to speak on his behalf? Another allegation of Hindenburg is between financial years 2009 and 10, one of the Vinod Adani owned firm Krunal Trade and Investment lent around 253 million US dollar to an Adani's private entity focused on real estate named Sunbourne Developers Private Limited as per Sunbourne's financial records. So first point is Sunbourne is a private entity of Adani Group and not a listed company. Second point is this transaction happened in 2009, 13 years back. Third point is Sunbourne has openly disclosed this transaction. What's the whole point in dragging a 13-year-old transaction and that too with the private entity of Adani's? To be more precise, any transaction of Sunbourne need not be disclosed as per the law. Yet Adani's have disclosed it, and I wonder what point Hindenburg is trying to make here by bringing a 13-year-old transaction. Though Sunbourne is a private entity of Adani's, private transaction of Sunbourne business wouldn't even qualify as a related party transaction, and it need not be even disclosed. Why a research firm like Hindenburg failed to comprehend such simple points? Look at this particular statement Hindenburg has made, which sounds so funny. We have also identified an instance where a private entity seems to have been used to help listed Adani enterprises to avoid reporting losses. What they are saying here is that Adani's got help from a private entity to cook up their account books and cover up their losses. But read this line again. Private entity seems to have been used to help Adani enterprises to avoid reporting losses. It doesn't disclose the name of the entity, doesn't come up with any facts, but uses such insensitive, vague statements without giving any vindicating evidence for the allegations it has made, which clearly raises questions on the Hindenburg's intention. What they could have actually done is do some research on their own and pick up facts and evidences that supports their allegation to prove that Adanis are guilty. In this way, anybody can make any nonsensical allegations on any company. What if we say Hindenburg seems to have links with China or Taliban or even Al-Qaeda? Does it make sense? Absolutely no. What amazes me in this particular case is how did such a naive and immature research report got such a kind of high traction in the market? I wonder how many have even actually read this report fully. We haven't finished yet. Look carefully at points 5, 11, 14 and 16. What are they asking for? They have listed some of the firms which operates from Mauritius, Cyprus and Singapore. They constantly keep asking for their source of funds. Now why only these 3 countries are being targeted? Because all these countries have double taxation avoidance agreement which avoids investors from these countries to be exposed to double time taxation on capital gains or incomes earned. India actually has this agreement with close to 88 countries. But these three countries have an attractive, very low capital gain tax and in some cases even zero capital gain tax policies. This was a lucrative opportunity for most of the investors. Hence, the investments were routed through these countries. All businessmen across the globe utilize these provisions to avoid taxes, and in India, Adani isn't the only company that has got funds from these countries. In fact, many of the business actually have started to operate from Singapore. Why does Hindenburg repeatedly ask for the source of these investors? What kind of logic is that? Why would an investee be responsible for the investor source of funds? Imagine like if a businessman goes to Shark Tank and sharks offer him a deal. Imagine the guys who got the funds demands the investors to reveal their source of funds. Isn't it silly and naive to make such illogical requests? Look at this report of FDI in USA. It has got close to 5 billion US dollar of funds from Mauritius and 30 billion US dollar from Singapore and around 135 million US dollar from Cyprus. Why wouldn't Hindenburg question US companies for source of investment of funds which they have received from the same three countries? Because no law requires a company to disclose source of funds of investors who is investing in it. In fact, no company would have access to that information, and demanding for such information will only prove incompetence and stupidity of these analysts. In that case, why specifically target only Indian companies and demand for such disclosures when law has given them the freedom of maintaining the confidentiality? I'm not trying to justify Adani's or anyone here. When we are doing such research, we need to have a pragmatic approach and not running with preconceived notions. Such selective criticism only exposes the intent of firms like Hindenburg. Look at point number 15, which accuses Adani to have worked with international incorporation firm Amicop. Hindenburg claims Amicop of establishing many Adani's promoter entities and also building some of the shell companies associated with Vinod Adani, including establishing Mauritius-based shareholders of Adani stock. Hindenburg further accuses Amicop of playing a key role in one of the international fraud scandal, which is again based on an allegation written in a book. I love the response what Adanis have given to this particular allegation. They have said, Amicop is a recognized firm that provides secretarial services to various entities and corporate groups from across the globe and not just Adani portfolio entities. It has also given the website of Amicop where we can get all these details. Adanis have said that they aren't concerned with these unrelated scandals that Hindenburg has referred, and Hindenburg can write directly to Amicop to seek their response if it wishes about any scandals they believe Amicop is involved in. Isn't this a perfect response? Why Hindenburg didn't even make an attempt to question Amicop directly? Why and how Adanis are even accountable for the allegations their service providers have? In fact, when you contemplate for a moment, which corporate company in this world is free from allegations? One of the big four firm PricewaterhouseCoopers was alleged to involved in Satyam scam. SEBI had even banned them for 2 years. Yet many Indian and American and European companies still have strong ties with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Why doesn't Hindenburg focus on these matters? US firm Amazon faces many such allegations. In a recent development, US Federal Trade Commission is preparing for an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon. Microsoft also has faced many such antitrust lawsuits. It was also accused in illegal tax evasions in 2007. Even firms like Google are charged of similar antitrust lawsuits and aggressive tax avoidances. Why doesn't Hindenburg make an attempt to question any of these American firms? Going a step further, post-publishing of Hindenburg report on Adani's, Swiss investment banking firm Credit Suisse and American investment banking Citibank have announced that they won't be accepting any securities of Adani Group as collateral for loans. Now, the biggest irony of this, both of these banks have faced many lawsuits and even criminal charges against them. Credit Suisse has faced forex manipulation and US tax fraud cases against it. In the year 22, a drug money laundering case has been filed on Credit Suisse. It is accused of allowing a Bulgarian cocaine trafficking gang to launder millions of euros of cash between 2004 and 2008. In February 22, details of 30,000 customers holding over 100 billion Swiss francs in accounts at this particular bank were leaked. Some of those accounts belong to human traffickers, torturers, and even drug traffickers. Citigroup also had similar cases. It was accused of not disclosing the financial deals with very infamous American company Enron. Enron investors actually had filed a lawsuit against Citigroup and it was forced to pay $2 billion to Enron investors. In 2007, Citigroup was sued for financial misrepresentations of more than 2 years of income to manipulate the stock price. Citigroup was also sued for violating federal securities laws and misleading investors by issuing false information about a Bermuda-based company called Global Crossing's revenues and financial performance. In 2005, Citigroup paid almost $75 million to settle the lawsuit. Now, both of these companies are bragging against Adani Group. What credibility do these banks carry? Isn't this irony of this case? In the entire research report, Hindenburg has consistently used terms like Adani Group as allegations of market rigging, faced allegations of corruption and criminal charges and so on. All these allegations on the Adani Group is already available to public and is known long back. Trials are going on and in fact most of the cases are already closed. What is the new information that Hindenburg has brought in? Hindenburg also consistently pointed out at the debt levels of Adani's. Now look at these tables. Some of the largest business groups of a country has high level of debt collectively. Look at the list of global firms with highest level of debt. 9 out of 20 companies belong to USA. Adani's have a debt of around $26 billion but here we can see companies which have 6 to 7 times higher level of debt than Adani's. I'm not outrightly supporting Adani's. If they have involved in any wrongdoing, they shouldn't be spared and punished according to the rule of law. But let me tell you this, when a business is growing at a fast pace, it is almost impossible for any firm to be completely insulated to these kind of allegations. Majority of large global company has one or the other allegations against them. The point that we need to look at is whether these corporate houses have intent to safeguard interest of all stakeholders involved or not. Having said all this, it is fact that some of the Adani stocks were a bit overvalued and it needed some correction. At the same time, investors should also be vigilant of high related party transactions in any company they are investing in. One of the key points to be noted is some of the Adani group like Adani Green and Adani Power, which were actually making losses, had turned profitable in past couple of years. So as on today, all these 7 listed entities of Adani's are making profits. However, this report of Hindenburg research on Adani's is nowhere even looks legit. This looks like just an attempt to mislead the investors and make huge profits out of it. Look at the statement of one of the famous stock market valuation expert, Indian-American Mr.Ashwath Damodaran. He says it is possible that Hindenburg was indulging in hyperbole and Adani Group is a competent player in infra business, which means Hindenburg has made exaggerated statements to create false narrative forcefully. Ashwath Damodaran further said that being over-levered is not a con game, which means though Adani's have higher levels of debt, that doesn't make him a con man. Ashwath Damodaran is known as Valuation Guru worldwide and this is how he exposed Hindenburg. Hindenburg also accused Adani's of their political connections. Have a look at these photos. Can these activists question them? This is how corporate world runs. Most of the global corporate leaders had political affiliations. Until they indulge in some unethical or criminal activities, why should we even be bothered about such things? Yes, I do agree that political leaders should always maintain a safe distance from businessmen. But at the same time, businessmen also have freedom to maintain a good relationship with government, be it state or central. But guys, this whole incident is not just an attack on Adani's but looks like a coordinated effort to malign India's image. Just look at these reports of Western media on this case. So much of height and overrated expression of words. Wonder why none of the Indian media fraternity has spent time to validate this research report and made an effort to give a point-by-point rebuttal to Hindenburg allegations. The sole objective of Hindenburg seems to be just to make profits out of this. However, our duty is to stand by truth. Let us keep all our political views aside and have a fair, unbiased view on such issues. When we join hands with external forces and start targeting our own Indian companies, it is nothing but shooting at our own legs. Hope a thorough investigation happens in this case and the truth prevails. This video is not a recommendation to buy or sell Adani shares. The sole purpose is to educate investors like you. If you like this video, hit the like button and share the video with all your friends and family members and your communities, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with a new video soon. Jai Hind.